Hello and welcome to another info-packed episode of the Biz Coach Show. And today I'm hanging out with Eric Whitmoyer, the founder and CEO of My Biz Coaches. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm doing phenomenal, David. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Well, glad to hear it. I think this will be a fun one. We normally talk about, things from a place of support, but today we're going to be talking about some of your frustrations. So I'm excited for that and tap into some of those pet peeves of yours as it relates to maybe coaches that are out there that are doing things or supporting clients in a way that conflicts with how you operate your coaching business. So excited to dive into that. Before we do, though, make sure you subscribe to the show and the channel. You don't want to miss future episodes. And also be sure to subscribe to Eric's newsletter, which is available on LinkedIn. And so you want to make sure you follow him there, connect with him, and subscribe. So, Eric, let's go ahead and dive in and talk about some of the things that frustrate you in the coaching space.
All right. So, David, we're going to do this a little bit differently than we've been doing the last couple of weeks because I don't think I want to spend a ton of time going into these because I think they speak for themselves. I'm actually going to challenge you to tell me what you think some of them are.
Oh, dang. Okay. All right. We can do that.
You've worked with me long enough now.
Too deep because then you'll start swearing. So that's very smart. That's smart.
Yeah, we want to try to keep it at least PG-13.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Well, yeah. Do you want me to start guessing at a couple and see how many I hit?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay, cool. Well, I think from all the things that we've talked about, I think one of the main things that I know you're big on is kind of clear communication, clear expectations, making sure people understand what they're getting and how long the commitment's going to be and what they're paying for and the payment structure. So I'd say probably clarity and or kind of upfront expectations would be a big one.
Yeah. So and I think you kind of put two together.
I was trying to save time. I'm built for efficiency.
So one of them is definitely poor communication.
Yeah.
And then another one would be kind of encompassed in that is the where is it? Lack of clear objectives.
Yeah.
I think kind of what you said, I think kind of encompasses both of those. And to clarify the delineation between the two, poor communication, I mean, that so many different ways, right? I mean, it's just clearly identifying, what's the expectation, what happens next. Like, for instance, this is often recognized during the onboarding process, right? What can I expect? And I'll openly admit that when I first started coaching, despite being very clear on what I could do for people, I hadn't completely vetted my onboarding process. So when let me say it this way, when I share that these are pet peeves of mine, it's because these were things that I knew I was doing. And so I'm like, I need to clean this up because it's not giving me the kind of the kind of result that I want my client to expect. Right.
Yeah.
So, and then
awesome.
the clear objectives, to your point, it's this is what you can expect next. This is what we're going to accomplish during our time together, whatever that might look like in that conversation.
Yeah.
So, all right. So right out of the gate, you nailed two of them. Okay.
Nice. There we go. Well, and I think I'm gonna piggyback on something you said, because that's where my mind was going next is clear objectives, right? But then tangible results, because I know one of the things that frustrates you is you other clients that maybe aren't delivering the kind of results that you are for your clients. That kind of taints the coaching space because people get this perception of coaches don't really have an impact. Well, the right coach does. So I'd say that's got to be one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. And to your point, the rub is there's a lot of us out there and there's more and more people being added to the space all the time. You've heard me reference this many times. There's a lot of fractionals. There's a lot of other categorical type coaches. And there's always been even in the early days of this, I think there was kind of those who saw themselves as business coaches also operated as life coaches and career coaches and, whatever other ands you can think of. And no knock on those individuals, but one of the challenges is if you're, this is straight out of Alex Hormozi, pick one thing and do it well.
Yeah.
Right. And so my argument there would be which one do you do best and focus on that. And if you were doing that, you'd probably do a better job of that for those individuals than trying to be all things to all people. And I think that we, as coaches, I think we have a tendency to get caught up in, as long as I have a client, I want to be able to serve them so that I can keep getting that revenue coming in, which I can appreciate. At the same time, if you're not quite delivering on those expectations, it often is because you're trying to be too many things to too many people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that leads us probably to another one, which is coaches that kind of isolate or they've got kind of that scarcity mentality. They don't want to refer to other people, whether that's coaches or other professionals that serve businesses, which is a growing segment of what you do at My Biz Coaches, right? And so I think just a very different philosophy of what you do, which is bringing people together, leveraging expertise of a group instead of having, a coach that's trying to be the jack of all and really a master of none, right? So I got to think that's another one. It's just lack of I guess willingness to work with others, whether that's coaches or professionals.
Inflexibility. Yeah. I think so. Yep. I would, and I think that the opportunity with the inflexibility is that, and I think it's kind of twofold. It's definitely what you were referencing, but there's an added component to that, which would be, this is how I coach. And that way that you coach, this is my process, this is my system. That may not work with every client.
Yeah.
Either because the client's business is different or the client's personality is different, or and I've seen coaches disappoint a client, not provide them the experience they're looking for because they're so rigid in their approach that the client's like, they're not getting to the stuff that's important to me. And of course, that could go back to the poor communication, right? This is when you introduce the conversation in the beginning, Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner, this is the process that I go through. By the way, this is where the flexibility comes in. Is there something specific you'd like to get into? Because if I make you wait until month 4 to get to the topic that you want to talk about, I'm going to be lucky if we make it to month 4, because the whole time you're jonesing going, the whole reason I signed up with you is I wanted to talk about this topic. Right. And I got to wait till month 4 to get to your process. Right. And so that certainly is that inflexibility is definitely going to be a turnoff to a client.
Yeah. Well, and I think something that's probably related to that I know we've talked about a lot is kind of the support framework for the client. And so I would imagine when you see coaches that don't truly support their clients, whether that's frequency of communication or, addressing their specific needs, like you just talked about, I got to think that's got to be a frustration for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And inconsistent support is another big one that kind of plays into with everything that we're talking about right now. I'm looking at some of these like, this is, yeah. There's a number of them that overlap, I guess is kind of where I'm getting at in some regard as I look at more of these. Go ahead.
I would say, so my next thought, this may be a bit of a long shot, but I know we talk a ton about technology on the show, right? And I know you are doing a lot with AI and automation with your clients and even within your own business. So I would think that when you see a coach that's just so archaic and isn't adopting technology, I know that's got to get the hair on the back of your neck standing up.
What's funny is I don't actually have that specifically as a topic.
Oh, okay, nice.
Not that specifically, although you absolutely nailed it.
See, I know you well.
I have lack of real world experience is one of the ones that I had.
Yeah.
And that's that's kind of like that's a double-edged sword in my eyes, because I don't believe that everybody has to have specific insight into the general business criteria, the 6 core key concepts that we identify that businesses need to be able to resolve within their business. They're pretty consistent, and anybody who's operated in business is familiar with those 6 once we outline them for them.
Yeah.
And they may only, and any one of us is usually only good at 2 or 3 of them. Sometimes it's only one. Other times you might get somebody who's 4 or 5, but nobody ever has all 6, right? It just doesn't work that way. And even then, you're not necessarily great at 4 or 5 of them, right?
Right.
But my point is you don't have to have necessarily real world experience in that specific business, but you do have to have legitimate experience to be able to draw from to help your clients, right? So, but as it relates to technology, to your point, I would say and I think that kind of goes back, and I think that's what you were referring to about the inflexibility.
Yeah.
People who aren't willing to learn the technology, right?
Yeah.
I get frustrated with a client for that. I would be doubly frustrated with a coach that's not willing to adopt that. And ironically, we have quite a few of them, particularly not to pick on any one category, but the accounting, finance, CFO folks. They're they want to work with their software, but they don't want to learn any of that other stuff.
Yeah. Right. Right. Well, it's interesting too, right? Because you talk about it's important to evolve as a coach and understand, where technology is heading. And I know you've done a lot of work with, digital marketing, for example. And if you're not, spending time learning how to incorporate that as a coach, you're going to end up underserving your client because you're not fully aware of what's happening in the marketplace or in the technology space. And then how can you advise them appropriately?
Absolutely. You're right. That's the piece, right? That's the rub. And I would say that, shame on any coach that's not taking the time. Again, you don't have to have super in-depth knowledge, but you need to be able to speak intelligently about the topic. Otherwise, how do you serve your clients?
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. All right. Other things that frustrate Eric about coaches. This is related to technology a little bit, but I think just how they present themselves to the world, whether that's lack of a website or lack of an image or things like that. I know you've done a number of things, both as originally a life coach and then now as a business coach, and you've crafted a very specific image of yourself, and obviously intentional with your branding and everything. And so I would imagine when you see other coaches that haven't taken those steps, you probably just shake your head and give a big sigh, thinking, "Man, it could be so much better. What are you doing?"
Yeah, what's funny about that is it's not to your point, it's similar to what you just referenced, right? There's a component of the technology, because that's really where a lot of what you just referenced kind of falls into. I didn't take the time to learn how to use social media. I don't like it, so I avoid it. Well, that's where people are going to at least try and look for you and find you. So that's a huge miss, right? But I think that the rub is I don't really need that. I'm not going to bother with that. Well, if I said, if I haven't said this, and I know that I've probably said this at least a half a dozen times on the show, just in the last couple of months, but not having a social media account, any social media account, let alone some of the most prominent ones right now. But if I'm not on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, at least, well, those would be the ones that I would highly recommend for most everybody. If you don't have at least one of those 3, or ideally 2 or 3 of those 3, that's the equivalent of not having a website 10 years ago.
Yeah. Right.
Right. That's literally how big of a miss it is. And then to ignore it and discard it as I don't have time for that, that's even more. And it almost falls into one of the other ones I have, which is a negative attitude, which how much I love negative people.
I can see it on your face right now how much you despise that.
I can't even compose myself. This is where the 4-letter words might come out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like, I don't have time for that. And of course, my philosophy on time. As a matter of fact, I just did a time management piece on Wednesday, and it was, Lao Tzu. It's time is a created thing, and to say that you don't have time means you don't care.
Yeah.
Right. And so when a coach says, I don't have time for that, I'm like, oh, so you don't care. Oh, by the way, and you're not going to tell your client that that's one of the most imperative things that they need to have presence on. I'm not saying that you do marketing on Facebook or any of the other social media platforms. I'm not saying, but you have to have a presence.
Yeah.
Right. anyway, so yeah, that's a big piece for sure.
Well, and you're right though, because it's twofold frustration I see from my perspective, a little different, right? But one is if you're not doing that consistently, you're not building your own credibility as a coach, right? I mean, when
Exactly.
people see the content you're posting and the consistency before they ever engage you, they start to get a sense of who you are and the things that you talk about. And so, man, what a missed opportunity. And you and I hate when people miss opportunities. But I also think, knowing you, right? Certainly you want your business to be successful. You want to make money, right? All those sorts of things. But really, you have value that you want to bring to the world, right? You have a message, you have knowledge and experience that you want to help people with. And so, in a way, it's almost a little selfish to hold that stuff back when you could be putting some of that out there through social media or other platforms and actually helping people in a tangible way, and then help them even more once they become a client. And so I look at that as, you're withholding your value and your message from the world. Why would you do that? So that's just my take on it.
No, that's a great point. And if I'm gonna piggyback on that for this particular reason. The vast majority of the information that you might share with people. Now, this is where this could be actually misconstrued, but if a coach hears this statement, they may misconstrue this way, but the vast majority of the information is probably already out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
There's very little that I share that hasn't been shared by somebody else before. The difference is how I share it.
Yeah.
Right. And though, so, you've heard us talk about know, like, and trust on this channel a million times. Mm-hmm. If not a million, maybe 500,000 then. Okay. We talk about it a lot. Right. Yeah. The truth of the matter is this is how you establish know, like, and trust. Yeah. And, oh, by the way, the information may very well be out there, but if it wasn't put out there by me, if you didn't hear me say it, I'm not doing anything to benefit myself.
Yeah.
To build my brand, to build my reputation, to build my acknowledgement, and the selfishness that you'd referenced. I think that one of the things that we have a tendency to forget is, regardless how much of the information is out there, sometimes it's necessary for somebody to hear that information from someone else because it resonates in a different way. It resonates in a way that actually gets through for whatever reason, because they associate differently with me than with you. Or, you hear it differently on our channel than you did from somebody else who said it to you at some other point in your life. But the point is that many of us need to hear it multiple times before it really kind of sets in. There's also the idea, and this is one final piece on this. People read books multiple times for a reason.
Yeah.
The message that you read, that you get from reading a book today, is different than the message you'll get 2 years from now.
Yeah.
Because you're ready for that other message now.
Yeah.
Right. So it's same thing with the information, right? Same thing with information. I get the information 3 years ago. I remember it, but now I'm in a different place in my business or whatever, my career, whatever. And that information resonates with me in a whole different way because I'm ready to hear that now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it just, yes, it's negative, but I think maybe how I'd phrase it is it's short-sighted to not put yourself out there in that way, right? And to build a brand and put out content and those sorts of things. I mean, certainly you don't have to do this show, right? But you see it as an opportunity to provide value and to help coaches, which, other coaches are feeling like, we're competing against each other and you're free advice on how to build a coaching business. And then, by the way, I can help you if you want to. Just come over to My Biz Coaches and join our group. I mean, it's just a very different way of approaching the whole coaching thing, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't know where we left off, but
you're doing pretty good. You're about halfway through the list. So
okay.
You're
Let me think. Okay,
you're missing a big one though.
I'm missing a big one. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me think. How about a hint? You want to throw me a hint?
How about over, under?
Probably overcharging and undercharging, maybe?
No. That was good. Okay. We have high fees and limited value.
There you go.
Let's go there. Let's go with that one.
Over, under. Yeah.
Let's go with the fee one, because that's one of the ones I had there, and I think that. Cool. And I think here's what's the important part: I'm all for the high ticket, and knowing your target audience, knowing their need and the value you provide. I mean, we've talked about 6-figure contracts on this channel before. I know that there are clients that would gladly pay 100,000, 150,000, maybe 200,000, depending on what your organization brings to the table, what solutions you provide for the right organization. But the point is that you need to make sure you bring the value, because there are a lot of people charging a high ticket program. And when I say high ticket, let's say $2,500 a month, $30,000 a year. But then the client gets halfway through the year and I don't see a return from this.
Yeah.
Right. You worked with my mindset a little bit, but there's no practical real solution. There's nothing that's making my business better. And so it's the return on the value for the high fee. So you're going to charge a high fee, make sure you're really getting true value. And there's a number of different ways to look at that. And I'm not poking holes. I'm certainly not going to say I'm perfect when it comes to every client that we engage with. What I will say is I know what I can provide. Sometimes that's a limitation with the client. But the opportunity comes with do you have a real defined value return that you can offer for a client? And if you're not sure of that, then make sure that you do have a better value proposition.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Don't look at somebody. I guess what I want to say is don't look at somebody else's regurgitated crap and say, "Oh, I can do that just as well," and then do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Truly provide value.
Right, yeah. Do it.
Yeah. Truly provide.
Yeah. Do it poorly.
Right.
Yep.
So
sense.
over under.
Over.
It's literally it's right out of the sales book. Don't over promise.
Over promise, under deliver.
Yes.
Oh, I think it broke up. Over promise, under deliver. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one. And I said, it goes hand in hand with the high fees and no value, right? So, and admittedly, I think that even when we were building the coaching program, as we continue to refine the coaching program, I'm consciously, I want to provide way more value and charge as little as necessary to be able to provide a solution for a coach so that they feel like they're really getting a significant amount of value for partnering up with my biz coaches, so that I get those success stories that these coaches are having success, they're building their businesses, and they're walking away saying, "Hey, this has been a great experience. I'm happy to be part of the My Biz Coach team." And most importantly, being part of it is considerably improving and growing my business.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Cool. Okay, let's think other frustrations that Eric would have with coaches.
We're only down to a last couple here.
Yeah, probably when they eat with their mouth open. I think that would probably frustrate you.
I think that falls with anybody, but that's
I guarantee that's not on your list, but it would frustrate you. I know it would.
You're absolutely right.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I think I've exhausted the things that are top of mind, so we can.
Okay, well, you did pretty good. I'm going to say you got about 2/3 of the list. So
hey, that's passing in most school districts. So I'll take it.
Well, you went to school in Arizona, so that probably is passing in there.
Yeah, true, very true.
Let's see. Lack of personalization. I think we kind of touched on it briefly, but I think it deserves to be kind of pulled out a little bit.
Yeah,
and I think that the opportunity there is you can't personalize every program, and you can't serve every client with your programs, right? That's just not feasible. However, how you I've been a victim of this, right? Was where in that I tried to make the program work for a particular client, trying to personalize too much. Right? Yes. But I think the important part here is to identify, and this kind of goes back to, if you recognize that a client has a specific need and they're looking for a coach for a specific need, don't try and sell them your 12-point plan that takes 3 years to roll out. They have a specific need. I'm not saying that they don't need your other services, but help them solve that first need first. Win them over, show them what you're capable of, and solve the problem that's in right in front of them right now. That will do so much more to build the credibility and show to them and demonstrate to them your capabilities and your ability to, even hear what I'm saying, which is my problem. You've heard me say this before. There's a handful of different franchise coaching opportunities where I get a lead from somebody and saying, I spoke to so-and-so at such and such coach company. And, they didn't, they're trying to make me do this 8-month program or whatever it was. And the thing I want to cover, as I referenced earlier, is in month 6, but it's relevant to me right now. Right. And I don't have, 6 months to wait to have that conversation. So I think that, so there's going to be some personalization. You have to be able to adapt. Like, I guess it's not necessarily personalizing the program. It's adapting to the client's specific need.
Yeah.
In the moment that they're in. Because when you don't do that, then you make everybody think that there's only one way to deliver the coaching.
Yeah. Well, and I think I would guess that, part of it is just an eagerness to sign somebody up for a big program, right? I totally get that.
Sure.
But I think there's also a lot of times, especially new coaches, they don't understand their business or their pricing model well enough, or the value of their time, and so they're reluctant to do kind of specialized pricing, right? Where normally I do this, but for you, we're going to do a limited engagement first, and it's going to cost this much to deliver this result, and then we'll work you into one of our normal packages. And I think that there's a lack of comfort, or even a lack of understanding about, am I going to lose money on that? Am I going to make money on that? And understanding your business allows you, I think, to create some of those custom packages and unique offers and personalize things in a different way. And that goes back to having actual experience in the things that you're coaching on, which I think is a theme, right, that's important throughout.
Right. Absolutely. Let's see. One of the other ones was overcomplicating concepts. So this is a little bit unique in the sense that it's we use jargon or complex strategies that confuse rather than clarify. And I think what's important here to identify is some of us do it by mistake. Others do it by design.
Yeah.
That's the part that I'm referring to, right? Like I've literally had conversations with people that they have a specific discipline that they use. I don't want to use specific names because I don't want to call anything out, but they use this strategy for their operations management thing, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
And they'll and so they have this jargon that comes along with it, and they're like, "Oh, you don't know what that is? Well, that's not a basic business concept." No, I don't know that. Now, if you explain what it is, then I probably know what it is, and we have some other term that we use in our particular business or category of business, whatever the case may be. But what certain people use, so for instance, in the marketing space, it's not uncommon to use a lot of jargon as it relates to identifying cost or revenue numbers, or so CAC, right, cost of acquisition, or ROAS, right, and obviously ROI. Most people know that, but you use some of these different. I'm trying to think of the other one. Lifetime value of a customer, right? Yeah. So you use the acronyms, or you use a term like that, and you use it to try and convince the client that they don't know anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, really, that you know more than them, right? That's
the point I was trying to make. Yes, thank you. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And you're trying to use that to win them over. And I'm like, well, now you're just making them feel dumb.
Yeah.
They're not dumb. They just don't use the same terminology you do. Now, they may not completely understand that topic because they don't use it currently in their business today. But once you explain it to them, they simply would get it. It's not super but I've seen people use that in a way to like browbeat a client into signing up with them.
Yeah.
That is absolutely the last thing. If you want to lose a client real quick, make them feel like a dummy, right?
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting too is I totally agree. I think it's probably most common that it's a way to make yourself appear or feel superior to the client. But I also think that oftentimes it can be a defense or a smokescreen as well to hide maybe some of your own, shortcomings, right? So, I think you'll see on, Instagram, whatever, that poke fun at these massive, consulting companies that come in, and the kind of the joke is, right,
Mm.
they come in with their vests and they deliver this word salad with all of these, corporatese phrases and jargon, and never actually really solve any problems, right? And I think that sometimes coaches can do the same thing, right? They come in and use these big words and these acronyms and fancy charts and those sorts of things. But at the end of the day, it's like, did you actually help the client? Did you solve a problem? Because if you didn't,
Right.
you didn't do what they paid you for. And I think you're
Right.
totally hitting the nail on the head there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Cool.
So,
Well, that's a good one. What else you got?
yeah, so we got two more, last two. First one is imposing personal agendas.
Yep.
And that goes in so many different directions that I don't
I
even want
saw
to
your
get into.
micro expression there, Eric. Great job keeping that in.
Yeah, that one's a tough one. And yeah, like I don't even go into that one any deeper than that, but it's just it's people sense that, right? I'm surprised that people think that they're, oh yeah, nobody picked. I'm like, yeah, no, everybody knows exactly where you're going. And then I'd say the last one is the failure to build trust. And this is more of a it's like we said, it's a frustration. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a pet peeve per se. It's a, oh geez, you missed that one. And if you're struggling as a coach to maybe close clients or assign clients up, that's a big one, right?
Yeah.
And because I know, having working with a lot of coaches, selling my own clients, knowing what that experience is like, and then, as you know very well, David, recruiting coaches, one of the big things that people share openly, right, within the coaching space, when they're honest with themselves and they're in their group, their own peer group, and they're honest with themselves, there are a number of coaches that will openly admit, I hate business development. I hate trying to sell new clients.
Yeah.
And a lot of it stems from either they've missed the opportunity or don't know how to effectively build trust.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of it can be done through like I don't have to try and do it through voice. We referenced it earlier. Social media, this channel is an extension of helping people understand that I know what you're going through. And because I'm showing you that I know what you're going through, because I'm talking about the same things that you probably are familiar with, I'm building trust, right?
Right.
It's the same thing when we talk to business owners about the challenges and frustrations that we know they're having, because we've talked to enough business owners to recognize these gaps, frustrations, challenges, whatever the case may be. But it's so that's one, right? It's not using the resources that are available to you. But I think there's also trigger words and things like that really help establish and build that trust with a client. But I think the biggest thing is that, are you listening to them, and are you using the words that they're using? I mean, this is literally a really simple, basic sales strategy, which I know you teach all the time, which is listen to the client, let them tell you what their frustrations are, and then recite back to them what you heard them say to you.
Yes. Yep.
And then share with them how you would solve it using the words that they used. And that right there builds trust, because I'm using the words that you use. So I'm demonstrating the understanding of your frustration, your concern, where your hot buttons are, and then referencing throughout my conversation with you.
Yeah.
Like you said, David, you're frustrated with this. Like you said, David, you'd like to be able to do that. You mentioned early that, right? By doing that, I'm restating for you that I know what you are concerned with and what your hot buttons are and what you're frustrated with, because that will then help me. I confirm for you that I know and understand your frustrations and how I can help you.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's funny that this is a frustration, right? Because it seems so that I've been in sales or, have decent empathy and emotional intelligence, but not everybody does. And it's not a strength that everybody has. Maybe you have a coach that's more technical or has an engineering background, right? And they haven't had as much of that interpersonal communication, or even, how to sell their services or connect with people in that way. So I think that's a great thing to point out. And the beauty of it, right? And I think you're a great example of this, is it separates you from all the other coaches, right? If they're sitting down, they're looking at two coaches, and one is, we'll get to your problem. Just let's sign up and get this going, versus, slowing down and really taking time to understand and making sure they feel heard. Well, who are they going to sign up with, right? The person that took the time to understand and communicate that understanding and demonstrate some empathy for their problem. You're going to close way more deals that way. So I think, yeah, very well said, and get why it's a frustration based on your extensive selling experience.
So that's it. There was 15 total that we covered. I think we, like I said,
Nice.
some probably lumped together, but we covered all of them.
Very cool. Cool. Awesome. Well, hey, Eric, I'll ask you what's new at My Biz Coaches here in just a second, but I did want to just mention, if you are listening to this or you are watching this and, maybe you thought about becoming a business coach and you weren't sure if that's the right fit or what's involved or how to even be successful at it, I would just encourage you to head over to mybizcoaches.co/coach, or if you've got your phone, scan the QR code, but just book a free call. Just have a conversation with Eric, one of the coaches on his team, and no obligation. Like I said, totally free. Really, it's just a way to explore being a business coach and what goes into that. And really, even beyond that, one of the things that Eric is working on is kind of expanding beyond just the coach term, right? And thinking about professionals that serve businesses. So if you're doing something right now today where you're interacting with small business owners and you've thought about maybe adding an additional service or an additional revenue opportunity, there's a lot of that within My Biz Coaches, whether that's adding coaching services or a number of other partners that have been pre-vetted by Eric and his coaches that you can use to help grow your own business. And so explore that as well. If maybe you're already in that space or operating in a manner similar to that, wouldn't hurt to check that out either. So with that, Eric, I'll just open it up. I know you always working on new things. You're always cooking something up over at My Biz Coaches. What's new? What's the big focus? What's coming up?
So I'm actually going to pivot just a bit. I'm going to say that we got some really interesting new interviews coming up for the Biz Coach Show.
Yes.
So, there's about a half a dozen or so that we're still trying to get a few others that to piggyback on, but I'm excited about some of the people that are going to be coming on board. We actually recently did an interview with a local another business channel local to me here in Arizona, but they had a great interview with them. They work with a lot of local business owners here in the Valley, and we'll be partnering up with them, doing more shows. So I'll be on their show a little more often, and then talking about some of the different solutions that we have available each week. A lot of going on the podcast, and looking forward to incorporating more of these interviews, at least for some period of time, to introduce other coaches.
Yeah.
That are either interested in partnering up with My Biz Coaches because they see the value, and or I believe that they have something of value to share to other coaches. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, that's great. And I wasn't aware of some of that either. So that's good to know, so that we can make sure we're planning accordingly. And one of the things that we've talked about a few times today is developing a community of coaches. And I think that that's really something that is important with My Biz Coaches and to Eric. And so, however that looks for you, if that's following Eric on social media, if that's, reaching out, having a conversation about becoming a coach, we just invite you to join the community. Make sure you subscribe right to the channel, to the newsletter, get all that awesome advice that Eric has available, and learn from other coaches. And so just kind of want to end with that. Make sure that you take an action today to join the coaching community. So Eric, as always, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.